Welcome back, viewers. This is our episode number what? 15th, right, Anmol?
15. Yeah.
Okay. And we will be talking about something very delicious, something very exclusive, and something we all love to savor. At least Anmol and I. That is premium alcohol.
Oh,
And
yeah.
one brand in specific that both of us aspire to have a sip of someday is Louis the 13th or Louis XIII, like the French say. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, oh, my mouth is already watering. uh,
No.
well, I've been fortunate enough to taste Louis the 13th, and I must tell you, it is worth every penny that it charges. So, it is not all hype and no show. It is definitely worth the hype. And so, today, well, most of you would be wondering what is Louis the 13th. Louis the 13th definitely was one of the kings of France, and this today we'll be talking about the cognac or the brandy. Well, it'll be an understatement to call it either cognac or brandy, but yes, it is definitely a cognac, which was named after him as an honor by the owner of this company, Remy Martin. Right. So, well, Louis the 13th, why is it special? So just give you a bit of background around it. When I used to be in the hotels, we used to sell one small of that, exclusive beverage uh, for 11,000 rupees plus taxes. And at
Just
that
the
time, this is I'm
30
talking about,
ml.
this price was about 10, 11 years ago. I don't know what is the industry standard at the moment, but it would be somewhere close. So the entire bottle was about 2.5 lakhs, depending on which hotel you go to. And even if we come to the MRP price, it wouldn't be less than a lakh and a half. So, well, is it worth all this hype? So let's talk about Anmol. I always talk about the alcohol marketing, and I'm a big fan of the
Yes, yes, totally.
marketing.
And there
Before
is
we
a
go into all this, the shusha of Louis the 13th and the exclusivity, whether it's worth it or not, let's talk about the entire beverage industry, not just
right.
alcohol. Let's talk about the entire beverage industry and how it is marketing driven. So
Totally.
let's take the most simple thing in the market today. That is aerated beverages.
Right.
Pepsi, Coke, Thumbs Up, Fanta. well,
And
well,
these days, a new drink, limonata, by Ladies Lady.
right, and that squeeze thing that
Yeah.
the Shark Tank person has come up with. Uh, what is all of this? These are all water. They're selling you water, overpriced water with overpriced sugar in it, or maybe sometimes no sugar in it.
Some
Definitely of no nutritional value.
right.
But
We all
uh,
love it.
yes, well, in India, what do we pay for a can of Coke, Anmol? About 25 rupees,
Yeah, 25.
roughly. Yes, 25 rupees. For the same can of Coke, I used to pay about 5 euros in France.
Wow.
So maybe around the same, the US, maybe it'll be $5, but not less than that. I can assure you of that. Cheap Coca-Cola, a brand of cola would cost you about $3, €3. Coke was $5, and I was like, a can of Coke, $5. So, w- what is what decides the value of these beverages? Now, let's come to the alcohol industry. Let's I accept, that there's a lot of effort that goes into creating a single malt or even a fine blended scotch, or if we will be talking about cognac, which, and especially Louis the 13th, which takes about 250 years to for the entire preparation, right from the time the grape for it is harvested. But what about vodka? Let's talk about
Clean
vodka.
spirit.
Spirit, so
Just
uh,
like water.
everyone believes that vodka is made out of potato. Or wrong. Vodka can be made out of anything. Vodka can be made out of wheat, barley, anything. As long as you produce a clean and clear spirit with no flavor in it, it is vodka.
It is vodka.
The very meaning of vodka in Russian is water. So it comes from the word voda, which means water. And so, why would you pay uh, 400 rupees for a fuel vodka and 4,000 rupees for Roberto Cavalli skull bottle vodka? So, Anmol, do you have any idea why would you pay so much for it? Or Ciroc vodka, Ciroc vodka. It's made
Just
out of
for
grapes. Huh?
fun. Just for fun. And especially you don't get caught when you drink vodka.
No, no, no. Oh, so you would pay what like how much would you pay for a Grey Goose bottle in Gurgaon? I think it's cheapest in India, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gurgaon is the cheapest. So I think in Gurgaon the
Grey Goose
vodka
or a Belvedere vodka. How much would it cost in Gurgaon?
thousand less than thousand.
Less than 1,000, but still it is in that range. It is so in Bangalore it will become 3,000 rupees, right?
Right,
Yeah, so it is an expensive bottle, right? And Gurgaon being exceptionally cheap with like a Grey Goose
right,
is
right. Pan
1,000.
India, it is
Yes,
expensive. Like I used to remember when I was
not
in
Grey Goose
college.
would not be 1,000 rupees. I'm pretty sure it'll be close to what a black, not a black label, but yeah, close to what a black label would cost you.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, and but an absolute would be somewhere around 1,000 or something like
Yeah,
that.
absolute here in Dehradun it cost you around 700 or 800 rupees, I
Right,
think.
right. So why, yeah, so why Absolute is an extremely good vodka. So
Yeah.
why would you pay so much, only 700 rupees for an Absolute and twice or thrice the price of that for a Grey Goose, and maybe six times the price for a Roberto Cavalli?
Just because of one
It is
thing,
entirely marketing,
marketing.
so it is entirely marketing. I was actually talking to one of the marketing managers of Ciroc vodka, which they claim is made out of grapes. Okay, so how does it matter? A clear spirit, you make it out of anything, because the good quality of vodka means it should be smooth and it should taste like nothing. That is a good vodka.
Right.
So how does it matter whether you're making it from potatoes like the Russians do, or you make it out of grapes? And why not call it a clear brandy in that case? You know, so like an Armagnac is schnapps are, like these are clear beverages, but you have to create a value. So I mean, obviously, if I was making vodka and I started thinking, okay, I have to position my vodka in a certain way, I only want certain people to drink my vodka, you know and I want to be associated. So one is start making tharra, start making arak, urak or arak, whatever people call it, and sell it to like they see local crowd, janta, and they'll have it, and I'll still make money. But now
Exactly.
um, the Maslow's need theory goes up, right? It's
Right.
time for me for my self-actualization. I want to sit with the big
Be a
wigs
part of
and
a specific community and all of that.
community. I need to create a brand. So it's all about creating a brand. It's not about selling the vodka. It's about creating the
Exactly.
brand around it. So how do I create a brand around something that tastes like nothing or tastes like everything? You can mix a vodka with cranberry juice. It tastes like cranberry juice. You make a screwdriver that is vodka and orange juice. It's orange juice with slight hit that you get. And if it is Grey Goose, it just goes in smooth. You won't even be able to tell that you have vodka. I mean, I got my wife drunk, so I don't want to create controversy. She knew that she was drinking. Yeah. So on Grey Goose vodka and orange juice because it went in smooth. Right. So why would I pay so much for it? So yes, now I want to create a hype around it. Yes, it was made from the French grapes, or like Roberto Cavalli does it, puts it in a crystal skull bottle,
Still
you know,
bottle.
skull bottle. Right. So and then he puts his name on it, Roberto Cavalli. He's a designer, so everything that he puts his name on has to be expensive. So
Right.
but then he has to create that value also in it. So he'll talk about his vodka, he'll create a story around the vodka. So like I say, it's not the alcohol that you're buying, it's not the beverage inside the bottle that you're buying, it is the story. And like In marketing, it's all
You
about
feel good when you drink it because
yes.
of the story.
You have to you know
When you take that first sip, you have to imagine that, okay,
imagine.
this is
Yes.
from where my whiskey is coming. This is from where my vodka
Yes,
is coming.
the same thing. So let's talk about the finest. I mean, the best, the first single malt, the Indian single malt that people started talking
Amrut.
about, Amrut whiskey. Amrut, yeah, and how they marketed themselves when they
Exactly.
launched themselves in India.
Pretty
So
interesting
first
story.
thing that the Amrut people, I'm based in Bangalore. Amrut distillery. They used to make rum for army. Amrut rum is still good rum, you know. So they when they decided to jump into again, they were making janta drink, that is rum, before that quota liquor that army gets. They were happy with that. They were making quite a lot of money. But now that creating a brand Amrut came into being. So what did they decided? They wanted to create a single malt. So first thing like they did was they didn't launch it in India. They launched it
If you
in the land
if you
of
want
single
to
malt. They
if you
launched
want to
it.
sell something in India, first sell it outside, then come
No,
to India.
and they launched. Look at the audacity they had. They launched it in the land of single malt. They launched it in Scotland.
Right.
Yeah. Wait, I'll just give me 1 second. I'll get the book.
So for our audience, this is going to be really interesting. Ashwin comes with a lot of experience in this field.
Yes. Sorry for the interruption. So this is. Can you see the book?
Yes,
So the
Whiskey Bible.
Whiskey Bible 2010. It was by Jim Murray, and in this Whiskey Bible, Jim Murray had rated Amrut as the third best single malt in the world.
Wow.
And it was given to me by one of my friends who was working in Amrut that time. Amrut. the, it is the seventh year copy. So Amrut has been mentioned as the third best single malt in this book. So look at the marketing gimmick and how did they do it? You have to create a story around it. So Amrut decided to tell the entire journey how the wheat and the barley that they use for to create to make the whiskey. It comes all the way from Punjab and travels all the way down to south of India, and how, like and how it takes about 12 years for a single malt to age in Scotland because the weather is cold. But in India, since the weather is warm, the same single malt would age with just in 2 years. So 10 years less of effort, and but the same hype and the same demand that they created in the market. And once they
Right.
featured in this book, forget about the world. I don't know if the Goras wanted Amrut or not, but every goddamn Indian wanted Amrut on that in their collection. And what did Amrut do? They didn't sell it in India. They created the marketing of scarcity. The marketing of scarcity.
That is the best sort of marketing.
They didn't make it available in India. It was maybe one bottle used to pop up somewhere as a showpiece, like Babaji ka Thullu, and everybody was lining up for it. Pardon, the sacrifices we have to make for Indian Air Force. I live right next to one. Uh, so everybody was lining up for that, and at that time I was in the hotels, and every person like whiskey connoisseurs, the self-proclaimed whiskey connoisseurs, they would call me up and they were like, Ashwin, I want this bottle. I'm ready to pay because the hotels charge you 4 times, 10 times for what you pay in MRP. I'm ready to pay 10 times whatever the price you're selling at. I want that bottle. Amrut, do you have Amrut? So that was the hype that they created around Amrut. No.
And that's how
So,
it sells.
so
Varsity marketing is the best marketing. If you
scarcity
see,
marketing and obviously telling a story. Then you have this whiskey connoisseur from Scotland as from our oppressors' land. Uh, rate obviously the Indians so far. India was producing Blender's Pride and all, which was fairly good to taste. And it's not bad actually if you taste Blender's Pride. Uh, and again, I I enjoy my drinks, I enjoy my whiskey, and I always say the best whiskey or best wine or best beverage is the one that you like.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you like Code's rum, it is the best drink. And
Totally.
I've met people, and especially in the whiskey community, if someone drinks Blender's Pride, he drinks Blender's Pride. He won't touch anything. You
Exactly.
could
They
tell
are so
tell
loyal.
him, This is Louis the 13th," and please have it. No, the brand loyalty and the taste. It is so much, and in this community that they wouldn't touch anything else but their brand,
Right.
right? So, but those kind of people were running after Amrut. So, I actually got it from the source, from the person who was marketing Amrut. You can read it here, Amrut.
Yeah.
Right? Amrut Fusion Single Malt from India, rated third finest whiskey in the world. See, you can read it.
Yeah, yeah, we can read it. It is pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So again, so like I said, people, they wouldn't deviate for anything. But again, Blender's Pride was not considered, oh, no, 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 it's Indian. Indian is not whiskey. They mix caramel in their drink, and I still remember there was a fight between Indians to recognize, to let foreign spirits, and I mean, they used to tax heavily the foreign spirits because Indian whiskeys are not recognized abroad.
Oh,
Yeah. So Indian whiskeys were not called whiskeys outside India. So Amrut broke that barrier first, and now after Amrut, there is Paul John's. There is I don't know. You bought something no the other day. There's so many in
yeah,
the
there are
market,
so
but
many around.
Paul John and Amrut are, and they're actually very good whiskeys. I'm not just saying they created a hype and they got the place. They are superb whiskeys. Paul John is based out of Goa, and the owner also has a hotel in Bangalore. So these are very beautiful whiskeys. But when did the Indians recognize it? When the Goras said this is a good single malt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to sell something, you just go to Gora
Yeah.
people,
So the
make them
Gora
like
had to
it.
say
And
that this is a good. So you have to understand how your consumer perceives your product, first of all. What
right.
matters to your consumer? See, I'm not belittling the Indian consumer. Obviously, there's a reason we want the Gora's approval on these things because these things have come from outside, right? Whiskey is a Gora man's uh, product, so why not seek their approval right? But then you have to understand the psyche of your
Audience.
audience, your consumer.
Every
What do
whiskey
they
has an
want?
audience. Every
Yes,
spirit has an audience.
every spirit has an
Just
audience. Yes, but Old Monk has been very successful in maintaining the audience. And Old
yeah.
Monk has an audience which has grown with it. Old
Right.
Monk has cashed in on the nostalgia that it has built. That I used to drink this rum when I was in hostel when I didn't have money, and it. So I'll tell you the sentiment. So the sentiment marketing that comes with Old Monk. So what does Old Monk do? You know, or Old Monk does nothing actually. What do it's marketed by its consumer itself. So what do the consumers of Old Monk say? ये मेरे दुख का साथी था. When I didn't have anything, it was there for me. Now I am there for it. And when I used to work in the Caribbean Mall, I actually took uh, two bottles of Old Monk with me, which was beyond the permission, but I somehow managed to get into Cayman Islands, and I made my West Indian friends taste it. And the people used to swear by Appleton Estate and whatnot. They were all good rums out there, and I made them taste Old Monk, and they said they hadn't tasted anything like this before. They said
Wow.
this is a very underrated drink if it is not famous yet. So you can see, but then again, Old Monk is being marketed by its consumer because they decided not to change the pricing. Now they have come up with all that souvenir bottles, that
Fancy.
Buddha Old Monk collection, and now they're playing the game as well. But they still have their regular Old Monk, in the same
The standard
bottle.
and the class even.
Yes, they want to keep maintain that nurturing that audience who will have it in their hostel, and then they'll have it when they are rich also, and then they'll
Right.
market all. So then comes people like Roberto Cavalli and Ciroc vodka, who cash in on creating value by out of nothing. Like it is a grape vodka, or it is sold in a Roberto Cavalli crystal bottle. But then there are people like Louis the 13th. Let's come into Louis the 13th. And before we talk about Louis the 13th, let's understand what cognac is. We always say brandy, brandy, brandy. Brandy is again is a very underrated drink in India. You actually drink something like a cough syrup and you call it brandy. And brandy is something when you drink when you have cough and cold, your dad would mix it in milk and give it to you. Right? It was more of a medicine. And what I realized later on in my life when I started studying alcohol, that in India actually brandy is not brandy, because first of all, brandy is supposed to be made out of grapes. It is a drink that it is made out of grapes and aged accordingly. Take the I don't want to go into the details of how alcohol, different spirits are made. It will be a different topic altogether. Then a brandy which comes from the Cognac region in France. So it has a, what is it called? The geographical tag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, geographical tag. So why am I forgetting it? Yeah, geographic typical tag that you get. Uh, Exclusive tag. So cognac, unless it is coming out of the region cognac, and it has been all the due diligence has been maintained to
Yeah.
make
There
it.
are, I think, six regions there in the, in that part in which different cognacs are made. If it
Yes,
comes from
there's
there,
high
and
cognac, there's a low cognac,
then there is a grand
there's
cognac.
Grand Champagne, there are different regions in cognac.
Yeah.
And accordingly, those things are named. Your brandy bottle will contain those. And then there's VSOP, which is very special, old pale, very special. And then there's XO, which is extra old. So different kinds of brandies
They
are
have
there, and
different
cognacs.
regions, and they have maintained it very well since,
Very well, yes, and that is to create a standard. Okay, so every time you take a sip, even though it has been they've been making it for past say hundreds of years. So probably if you get to if you had tasted, if you have lived that long, if you had tasted that cognac 100 years ago and you taste it today, the taste is same. They're
the taste.
maintaining that standard.
Yeah.
But how do they maintain it? Due to these standards and
And
uh,
it's pretty impressive, how times have changed, how the environment has changed. So there are so many factors that could change that,
so
but
many
these
factors.
people are
So
able to
see
still.
why I'm a big fan, though I don't like too much unnecessary shusha around things. But why I'm a big fan of say Scotch or brandy or a good wine is because when they say it is history locked in a bottle, they actually mean it.
Right.
So it's not just history; it's the geography, it's the air, it's everything is locked inside that bottle.
Right.
So you won't believe, Anmol. I have tasted. So there's this good. Sorry, I'll deviate a little bit just to explain you what I'm talking about here. So that we remember we were making the website of Fratelli
Yes.
with a friend of ours at that time, and so Fratelli makes very good wines in India, and they had. There's a reason they had hired an Italian winemaker, and when they were launching Fratelli wines in India, I was working for Taj, and they had launched it in my restaurant, and they had launched two beautiful dessert wines. They were sweet wines, and one of these wines actually tasted like guavas, though it is made out of grapes.
No.
Okay, so why do you think it tasted like guava?
So there might be some place where there are guava trees near
You're
that farm.
quite possibly right. Maybe we are wrong also, but it is actually one of the features.
Right.
One of the Scotch, this these the was whiskey tasting Scotch, sorry, single malt tasting sessions that I attended, and I tasted this single malt, and it tasted like the seafood, that fishy or that sea flavor came in it. Uh, so, and I said I taste something from the sea, like something like oysters that I eaten once, and so I get the taste of that. And he was like, "You're very right, because where this wine, this single malt is aged, it is right beside the sea." So it is entrapping everything. It is not just like at that. So if we're talking about history, so if the wine is from 1971, or that particular bottle is from 1971, it is 1971 trapped inside it. It is the air of Scotland, or yeah, cognac trapped inside that bottle. It is the
Right.
environment, whatever was growing. Suppose there were roses growing around it, so it
You would have
entraps the
look away.
fragrance of roses also, and it is so vivid. I'm not even kidding to you. So let's talk about Louis the 13th. Louis the 13th. So now we know that cognac, what cognac is. Now come to what Louis the 13th is, right? Louis the 13th is first of all by Remy Martin. Remy Martin and Hennessy are two big competitors in the field of cognac, right? And they are the big giants. And if you talk about brandy or cognac, you're taking these two names, and it is a status symbol to have either of these brands on your table. But having Louis the 13th not on your table but in your cabinet is something else, right?
It's something it counts.
So let's talk about what goes into Louis the 13th. Let's talk just about the Louis the 13th bottle, or let's call it a decanter. It's actually a decanter. They give you a decanter for free, not a bottle, and it is actually made out of Baccarat crystal. Baccarat crystal is so crystal. Well, there's glass, and just like brandy, there's brandy, and then there's cognac. There's glass, and then there's crystal. Crystal is
Right.
next level quality of glass that you get. And whoever is a collector would understand Swarovski and Baccarat, and these are the name in the field of crystal. So it is made out of Baccarat crystal. So an empty bottle would cost you about $400 and more. An
You
empty
told me.
bottle would cost you $400. So it is not like, so this is the Roberto Cavalli gimmick. So Remy Martin is not about creating that kind of gimmick. They're just giving you that value, because that uh, Louis the 13th deserves to be in that beautiful decanter.
Yeah.
And you and I, we have seen that decanter, right? How beautiful it
Yes.
looks,
How beautiful it is.
beautiful it feels to hold. And now let's come to how much effort that goes into creating that. So it takes about, right from the time you harvest the grape to the time that the person is the bottle comes for sale, takes about 250 years. 250 years and more.
Right. 250 years just for a single bottle. So let's say if
Grape is harvested. The person who harvested the grape,
couldn't taste the lot
he
that
would
is.
never see the end product. Forget about the person who harvested the grape. The person who started making it or blending it. So again, it'll be made out of what 10 different blends of cognacs that they acquire from the Grand Champagne region, or the
Right.
Grand Champagne region, like the French would say. And the youngest one is about 40 years old, and the oldest one is already 100 years old.
Right.
So it's a blend of youngest being 40 years old and oldest being 100 years old. So you can say in the wine, in a whiskey world, it will be called a 40 years old blend already, because you take it by the youngest one that goes into it.
Right.
Right. So there's 100 years old brandy, cognac also going into it. So imagine, already the minimum of 40 years has already been spent in making it. Then it is casked. And I don't want to go into the details of what the cask is made out of and all, and then it comes out. And since it is so old, and it has, obviously, when you grow old, like me, you gain a lot of character, and I've tasted it and all, and they guarantee you, if you take one sip of this beautiful eau de vie, or the water of life, it stays in your mouth for at least half an hour. The glass that you empty after drinking, you can smell the glass after half an hour, 1 hour. It'll still have that not smoky, that chocolatey, beautiful taste to it, and the smell to it. So
Sounds like heaven.
yes, so it is actually creating value by putting in effort, you know, and you know that your product will, you want to create a brand, but you have already, you want to put an effort to create that brand, and you want to be seen with that, the person, the kind of, you imagine the kind of person who's going to hold your drink. So in this case, and when Louis the 13th first named his drink, sorry, Remy Martin, when he named it Louis the 13th, Louis the 13th was alive at that time, and Louis the 13th was the first king who gave the that tag, geographical tag to the cognac, to that region, so that entire standard came from that, so it was kind of an honorary name to him. So even Louis the 13th never tasted his uh, namesake beverage ever. It was going to take 230 years, 250 years. Now let's talk about how they have evolved, Remy Martin and Hennessy over the time. So I still remember when I had joined hotel management, uh, you know we were told that cognac is not supposed to be drunk. You don't chug on it, or you don't even sip it. You take it in a brandy snifter. A brandy balloon is called a snifter for a reason, because it's meant for, first of all, it was meant for cold countries, and they would hold it like this, unlike a wine which you hold with a stem because you don't want to warm your wine. But in cognac, you hold it with your hand, in your palms, and you warm it, so with the heat of your palm, it evaporates, and you keep sniffing it, and it goes into, you take the whiff of it because it's so special, it's so expensive. वो पी के ऐसे ही नहीं खत्म करते, right?
Right.
But see how these brands have evolved themselves. Now coming down to mid 2000s, and 2010, 15, the hip hop culture was at its peak. 50 Cent had made his impact, Snoop Dogg, those early 2000, and then all the hip hop artists, they loved to splurge and show them money. And what better way to have Hennessy or a Remy Martin bottle on your table? So how did these people evolve? They started selling chill shot. They started serving bottles of cognac on, not Remy, not Louis the 13th, but cognac on the bed of ice, and they used to do shots. And this became a quite a culture in China, in the millionaire community of China. That if they are sitting in a club, they want a bottle of Hennessy VSOP, especially, uh, on ice in front of them, and they would all do shots. So, and now that you and I we were talking as we spoke, you showed me that
Louis
Louis the
13th.
13th has come up with miniatures.
Yes.
The miniatures used to be a college thing for us when you used to buy miniatures and get, cheap shots of we didn't have money. So now Louis the 13th has evolved, and it has come up with, well, it is marketing it in a very different way, but still having a Louis the 13th miniature in your collection, that is quite possible. So if
Yeah.
you're not ready to spend a lakh and a half, 2 lakhs on the entire bottle, you
Still,
can
for the miniature, you need to pay 50,000 rupees. Again.
pay 50,000 rupees.
Right.
You still save two lakh rupees out there, right? It's a good deal. You can still show that you have
Right.
that beverage, uh, that not beverage, but like it is a collection uh, on you.
Right.
So how brands evolve, that is what my point is. Just
Exactly.
like how they.
Brands are basically evolving how their target audience is evolving.
Hmm.
Let's say tomorrow if my target audience evolves into something else, so I need to evolve, else I will be out of market.
Hmm.
That's
But
how it
how they keep
works.
creating this, Louis the 13th is all about creating exclusivity, right?
Exactly. It is because of the rich heritage.
rich heritage. It was meant for the kings.
exceptional
Only a
quality.
certain kind of people can be seen. So even
Exactly.
if I'm talking about these cognacs being on bottles being on ice, it was meant for the certain kind because the rich
Exactly.
have changed.
Exactly.
And now the rich are not those snooty, white people who had used to wear white wigs and
The
you know
audience have changed. Now people are
audience of
more of,
look at the
yeah,
people who are rich today. The hip
exactly.
hop,
And even
the
if you
developing
see,
world countries.
if you see in 2023, people have changed.
Yeah, yeah. The millennials who got rich or the Gen Z who's getting rich now.
Exactly.
They are not into that snooty culture. Okay, they don't even give a flying f about swirling their cognac. They
Even if
want.
you see these days, people are earning so much money from YouTube. They don't understand that you need to, do it like this, and
Yeah,
then
I mean, so
they
they're
have a
not
lot
like
of
who's
money.
gonna educate them. Well, there are ways to educate them, but then first let them get the taste of it,
Exactly.
right? So how do they do it? So they didn't bring Louis the 13th to that level, but they did. Hennessy, what they did was brought its VSOP, put it on ice. Okay, start drinking cognac
Right.
first. Okay, so okay, well
And
now let's talk about creating exclusivity. Uh, you know what Louis the 13th did with John Malkovich in 2015 November? It- They created a movie called 100, a movie you'll never see. 100 years, a movie you'll never see. And they recorded that movie uh, and a bottle of Louis the 13th, which will be opened only after, and put it in a safe, which will open automatically after 100 years. On the November the 18th, to 2015, it will open. So the person who, and it is locked in the cellar of Louis XIII. And the same thing what Pharrell Williams of Black Eyed Peas. He has sung a song called 100 Years, the song you'll never hear. Listen. And it is recorded on a record, the old record players.
right.
So it has been recorded on a record which is made out of clay. And it is made out of clay from Cognac region, the chalky clay. Okay, so it is that fragile. So both, I'll explain you what they are creating over here. First of all, the and it he did it in 2017, and it is locked with the bottle uh, and the clay record, and it was played again because cognac is a big thing in China. It was played only for 100 people in China, exclusive 100 millionaires. So see, they know their target clientele, so they
Right.
made them happy. And they so both these things first of all is to create the exclusivity, and the message is about the uncertainty of the future. And Pharrell Williams, he's quite vocal about the nature and global warming. So what he did was he wanted to speak about global warming and how the water levels are rising. So this clay, this the safe that this record is closed in, is protected from everything but water. So if the water level rises at the speed it is, and we don't do anything about it, then one day that water will come inside that safe, and that record would be dissolved, and no one would be able to hear that song ever. Well, the point is, it is not meant for everyone. This product, and they don't want to pose that it is meant for everyone. They are quite particular about who drinks their product, and
Right.
same thing is about Louis the 13th Society. So you could be a part of Louis the 13th Society
But
and
you
be
need
a part
to
of.
have that bottle.
So you have to buy the bottle, and you have to. They become evolved with technology as well. Once you open the bottle, you can scan the QR code and become a part of the
Their
Louis
community.
XIII Society also. But then it'll be a very exclusive society.
Right.
Great.
But yeah, for our audience and the marketers who have been watching it, so the core message from this episode for you too is how to, create exclusivity around your brand
It's
to
not
serve
just
an
about the
audience.
exclusivity. It's about
If you,
how you want to
huh,
position your brand.
exactly, and if your
What you're
product
most known
you are selling it to everyone, then it's for no one. So
Hmm.
that's the point of this whole story. Louis 13, it's not for everyone.
It's not
They
for
do not
everyone.
want to sell it to everyone.
So, but how you go? How do you go about it? There are various ways of doing it.
There are
Like
various
there's
ways.
a way Roberto Cavalli is taken, where they or there's a way Coke has taken,
Yeah,
and then there's a path that Louis the XIII has taken,
right.
uh, or Amrut has taken one path.
So the paths are different, but if you see the core thing that they are doing is the same.
Yes,
They are
but
creating
the
exclusivity. They
first,
are
the
serving an
core of
audience.
it is storytelling.
Storytelling. Exactly.
Storytelling is most important. Obviously, you need to have a product to back it up. Like,
Exactly.
why have people stopped drinking Coke? Like you have started questioning, right? Why should I drink Coke? And vodka, no matter how expensive the vodka is, it's still looked down upon,
Exactly.
right? You don't flaunt your vodka. Yes, you. I mean, what's his name? What fellow? Uh, the singer. Oh my God, how could I forget his name? Anyways, well, he has Voli vodka, right? So he keeps displaying Voli vodka in front of in all his songs, and then so the various ways you can do it, but then there's actually the product doesn't mean anything, right? So no matter how much you market it, eventually the consumer will make out. Then there is Amrut. Uh, they they understood that the product is good, but they need a good story, and they need an accreditation and validation from the right source, which their audience acknowledges. So you have to do your bit of research around this. And then there was Louis the 13th, who has been who made the name hundreds of years ago, and they want to maintain that. So how are they maintaining it? So all these three stories, like talk about creating a brand and maintaining, and then come and maintain it. How do you maintain your brand value? How you build a brand, first of all? How like when you want certain luxury brand we're talking about, and how do you maintain it afterwards?
Hmm.
Yes, Anmol, you have to say something about it.
No, that's all.
All
Yeah.
right, who's
All
gonna
right.
wrap
Thank
it up?
you everyone for watching this episode. And if you like it, do share it with everyone, and do share your comments in the your feedback in the comment section below. And we will be coming more on these episodes soon. So stay tuned for more. And thank you so much for watching.